morning, treasure seekers. This is Blake coming to you live from New Mexico, and joining me as always from Washington State, it's Britt and Cody. How's it going, guys?
Seahawks win the Super Bowl.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
It is literally impossible to be a spoiler. Yeah, that was an exciting way to conclude the weekend. Very thrilled to have another Seahawks Super Bowl under our belts.
Yes, it was very excellent.
Very excellent.
I'm weirdly not as excited as I thought I'd be. And I was talking to Britt about it earlier. Sorry to any Patriots fans for this comment, but I feel like I was so certain they were going to win, that the Seahawks were going to win, and just like expected it. That is like my only two outcomes are either just like checking a box, like, oh, great, we did exactly what I expected, or just being super upset if we didn't win. There was never that situation of being like the underdog and the big, like, hoorah, we finally did it.
And you led throughout the whole game, right? So
exactly, it went exactly how I thought it was going to, which is just kind of like a little careful and slow and meticulous, but just like never really any question.
yeah, I watched the Super Bowl up until about 19-0. And then they had a Mr. Beast commercial on that had a puzzle, and I stopped watching and started doing that. So it was a very stressful time for me because I wanted to start that Mr. Beast puzzle. So anyway, I did not see the final outcome of the game. It was like 29 something was the final score.
Cody was upset because when we had 19-0, Cody was like, "Oh, now it's got to be like a shutout." And that was the big goal. And then it wasn't a shutout. And then he was upset that it wasn't that. So I
Yeah.
think we just need to be happy with the win. We got to take the Super Bowl.
Yes, 100%. But I did Google in the third quarter, I Googled if there's ever been a shutout in the Super Bowl, and there has not ever been. So then I got excited about that potential.
It was a little side quest.
Yeah.
It was a little side quest.
It was.
But this is going to probably be a long episode.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yes. Moving on.
Keep us on track.
This is our first like normal episode back since TreasureCon. Last week we just released like a little vlog recap that included our speak at TreasureCon. So if you're curious checking that out, you can see last week's episode. But yeah, I think we should do a quick little around the room talking about how wonderful our TreasureCon experience was. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I think it was unbelievable, exceeded expectations. Met
Definitely.
So many people. I was shocked how many people knew who we were and introduced themselves,
Yeah.
which was awesome. We now can confirm that we are the tallest podcast. That was the first thing.
I think we need to reveal our heights.
Okay.
Everyone was very shocked by our heights. So starting, I am the shortest at 5'11".
Cody, you're second shortest.
Yeah, like 6'5".
Yeah, and I'm 6'8". So we're hoping there's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at next TreasureCon.
Yeah, I think we need to be looking for a world record for tallest 3-person podcast. I bet we would win.
There's probably some NBA podcasts out there that might have some tall people.
I don't know. I feel like 3 people is pretty unusual though. Yeah, it was so much fun meeting everyone. After Friday, I felt like I was already losing my voice, which just from talking to so many people, it was great. And I have to say my legs were sore until probably like Wednesday from like the sheer endurance of like standing and talking to people. I don't know why my legs were so sore, but I'm like, wow, what an endurance event starting Friday night.
Yeah, the con was full of fun activities. So the poker tournament, several treasure hunts that happened during the social events generally, and then the con on Saturday, and then the JCB book signing on Sunday, where there was another long line and opportunity to talk to a lot of folks. So, yeah, as I said, exceeded expectations. Like everyone is so polite, so nice. No bad experiences at all. So it was awesome.
Yeah, we also met Rashawn, who, if you've heard our sound clips, those have all been made by Rashawn. So it was really fun to get to meet him in person. And he took these really cool, like, visual notes all throughout TreasureCon as well. And so we wanted to show the notes that he took for our segment because I thought that was a very fun representation of our 20 minutes on stage chatting with everyone. So just, yeah, really cool to see a visual of that. So Rashawn, again, he has a Substack of, oh, Blake, remind me of the name.
Reflecting on There's
it is
Treasure
slipping from my
Inside.
mind.
And
Thank
it's
you.
treasureinside.substack.com. But yeah, you can find that easily by searching There's Treasure Inside Substack. That will be the one that pops up. And we'll be covering one of his newest findings in Discord Detectives today.
Nice. A tip, if you go to TreasureCon in the future, I would highly recommend leaving some extra space in your suitcase on your way there because you will be loaded with swag bag to bring on your way home. I barely could zip up my suitcase. I did not want to leave any of my goodies behind for sure.
Yeah, the item that we donated to the swag bags, I think we got a fair amount of comments on it. It was fun. We gave everyone a Pokemon card that was in a sleeve with There's Treasure Inside the Unofficial Podcast sticker on the back. So it was a little branded merch, but I think there were some people that were happy getting a Pokemon card, even though they weren't very valuable. But
no, I think it was fun. It was a good diversity of things in the bag.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
All right. What do we think? Any last TreasureCon notes? Obviously, okay, I guess that should be said up front. The Jon Collins-Black interview from TreasureCon was absolutely loaded. And rather than doing a chapter recap at the end of this show, we're going to be doing a recap on the interview, which we did a quick, very initial thoughts right after the interview at the TreasureCon. We uploaded that while we were down there, but this is going to be a little bit more of a deep dive going through all the content of that interview.
Perfect. Should we dive into news? Bryn, you have a good variety of news to report here.
So much news. Okay, so next week we wanted to start this week, but we're loaded this week already. So next week we're going to start a new segment that I think is going to be super, super helpful. I'm really excited about this. Cody got Blake this book called Puzzlecraft for Christmas, and it showed up at our house, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, all right, we actually need a copy of this as well. So we are going to each week kind of do a round robin approach of somebody finds a puzzle type that they like in this book. So essentially the book shows you how to make certain types of puzzles. And so we're going to find a type of puzzle and we're going to kind of teach the class about a puzzle that we have selected from this book. So I think it's going to be super helpful to us to learn about these different puzzle types, but then also help spread that information to get different ideas about like the types of puzzles that Jon Collins-Black literally could be creating There's Treasure Inside with.
Yeah, I think there was emotions happening when you got me that book for Christmas. I think, did you find it, Cody, and ordered it in?
Yeah, so I many months ago was watching one of the Bull in a Thread YouTube videos. We've talked about that channel before, and that guy is really into puzzle design. And one of the videos of his that I was watching, he mentioned that like he references that book a lot, and that it's kind of like from the puzzle design in the puzzle design community known as like the pinnacle book.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, that sounds great. And I wrote it down on my Christmas list. I was like, I'm gonna get this for Blake. He's gonna love this. And then I just had it on my Christmas list for like 5 months. And then I ordered it and it showed up. And then Bryn got her nose in it and started picking around. And I said, don't crease it. It needs to be in mint condition for Blake's gift. And she spent like all day reading it. And then she was like, I'm super mad at you for not just getting this 5 months ago so I could have read it. And B, it really seems like this is the kind of reference material that is like a high probability that JCB would have ordered and like read through and like used to help develop some of his puzzles. So like by reading it, we're gaining a lot of background knowledge. So those are kind of the two big takeaways: anger at me and wow, this could be super useful.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I think it does seem like a critical reference that JCB could have used to generate puzzles, and that's why we want to do highlights of different puzzles out of that book for a segment, because we think it could be super educational.
Yeah, I think it will be a very strong segment moving forward. So excited about that. At TreasureCon, we also, this was another thing we were shocked by. We got requests from, there's Treasure Inside the Unofficial Podcast merchandise. So we have a little merch shop in the works. I ordered a couple samples just to make sure quality is up to par. So I'm going to check that out. And if everything looks good, we'll report back on if there is a live merch shop for all of your wearing while viewing pleasure. I think that's going to be super fun.
Cody will definitely show off a hat or two, I'm sure.
Yes. All right. Passing along a PSA. Hopefully, if you were at the con, you got this email, but I wanted to say this as well because when we were at the con, we did have a chance to speak with Uncharted Collectibles, and he nicely gave us a couple coins. And so this email here said, at Seeking Treasure Con, the merch booth was selling 2 coins from Uncharted Collectibles. 1, a pink coin that has a puzzle with a $500 prize, and 2, the official Seeking Treasure Con coin that also has a puzzle with $500. So if you purchase either of these coins at the convention, then they need to know as soon as possible so they can make sure that you receive all the relevant instructions and clues. So if you purchase either at the con, and this is only if you purchase them at the con, if you purchase them previously on the website, they have your contact information. Email treasurehunts@unchartedcollectibles.com. Include your name, email address, and which coin you have. So I hope that relays the message and can kind of help spread the word about the awesome coins that Uncharted Collectibles is creating.
Yeah, and just check out their website in general at unchartedcollectibles.com. It sounds like what they're trying to do is start creating different coins that have like puzzles included on them and like little mini treasure hunts. They're designed to last like 2 or 3 weeks. I really like that aspect of it, that they're like 2 or 3 week little hunts. We've done a couple of those types of hunts between the 3 of us, and those are fun. It's nice to have like that more finite time frame and not just slowly evolve into madness like I feel like I am on this treasure hunt. So yeah, check them out. I think it'll be making more in the future. It's kind of a cool idea.
Nice. More news. Blake had mentioned the Mr. Beast treasure hunt that presented itself in an ad at the Super Bowl. There's actually 2 treasure hunts that were revealed through Super Bowl ads, which was kind of crazy. Both with about $1 million prize. So the first one that was on our radar was through Redfin, and this is going to be a quick one. So this, I believe, ends on Tuesday. Essentially, on the Redfin app, you're going to be watching the ad that was shown during the Super Bowl. From that, you're going to be answering clues that they are presenting to you in the app to like narrow down a region in the United States of where you can eventually try to find the Redfin house that's, the $1 million plus prize. So if that sounds intriguing to you, I would check that out. And then there was also the Mr. Beast. I can't even remember who he was collaborating with. Maybe not the strongest advertisement.
Salesforce. Yes. Salesforce. And yeah, that's another $1 million prize with seems like a pretty large amount of puzzles going on with that. So that's probably going to last a little bit longer, I'm guessing. But based on the popularity of Mr. Beast, and when I signed up on the email address, they were letting email addresses get signed up in batches. I was 150,000th in line. So this could be a huge puzzle hunt that's going to probably bring some new people into There's Treasure Inside and other hunts going on, I'm guessing, just based on how this whole thing plays out. So that's very, very exciting, and we'll see what ends up happening and how fast that gets solved. But shout out to Calazar's Discord. There's a group working on it right now. Obsessed Jared is leading a number of people with divvying out the puzzles to do for that. So I'm ill prepared for this podcast because I was absorbed by that since the end of the Super Bowl till now. So I apologize in advance, but that's very exciting.
Do you guys feel like there's more treasure hunts going on? It's like more of a focus on it in like general culture, or do you feel like maybe we're just on the lookout for it more since we started doing more treasure hunt stuff?
I feel like it's way more mainstream right now.
Yeah, I mean, Bull and Thread predicted that there would be 2 large treasure hunts at least new this year, and he's already met that prediction with this Redfin one and with the Salesforce / Mr. Beast one. So it's hot right now, but I think it's probably a little bit of both those things that we're aware of it more. Like, I don't know if we would have been tracking that Redfin one. It's a little more discreet, I would say. But the Mr. Beast one, for sure, that's right in your face. So
yeah, the Mr. Beast one, I feel like that's going to be, everyone's going to be hearing about that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, yes, we're newer to like the like this real treasure hunt scene, but I've always been one to take on a contest. Any contest, I'm going for it. So I think these types of things would have been on my radar prior, and it feels like there certainly are more now than there used to be, or maybe even just like the higher stakes, higher dollar value.
But are you willing to tell the folks some of your life goals? One of your life goals is to win a giant check. That's a bucket list item for Bran.
It is on my bucket list to win a giant check. And I came so close during a live podcast of another show that we were fans at a couple of years ago. And it was heartbreaking because there's like, how many instances in your life can you possibly win a giant check? And I was literally one number off of the number I needed to guess to win this giant check. Anyways, contests are hot on my radar.
The bucket list giant check thing comes up surprisingly frequently in day-to-day conversation.
It started early in childhood thanks to Price is Right, the check writing game.
Mm-hmm.
When you either like get to walk away with the giant check or it's the big void check. Even the big void check I would have been happy with, but it's something I really aspire to.
Right. You have one more news item?
One more piece of... Originally, this was the only piece of news until like very recently, and I was so excited about this one. It's regarding Dairy Queen blizzards, because if you've been listening to the show, we love to bet mini blizzards. That is our currency in which we are betting on different treasure hunt topics. So on Instagram, I have not confirmed this. It said, scientists discover post-workout Dairy Queen blizzard spikes muscle protein synthesis 43% higher than chicken and rice.
Okay, that's news. I do have a bet with Matthew Hobbies for a blizzard if the Pokemon box is found in a tree or not. So yeah, blizzards are also hot on this podcast. All right.
That's all my news.
Let's dive into Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. Cody, it's your Horseshoes and Hand Grenades today. I'm excited.
I wouldn't get too excited.
Okay.
Let me share my screen here and see if this works.
I will counter and say you should get excited. I think this is really cool.
I think it's cool, but I don't know. I feel like I don't want people to get excited for like big takeaways or big, like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
You want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yes. Just don't be angry with me if it's too easy.
My tummy is rumbling like a bee on a pistol.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Anyway, this Horseshoes and Hand Grenades is probably a little bit out of order because I think a lot of the thoughts I was having that led to this, we're going to discuss a lot of that at the end of the episode when we talk about the JCB interview and a lot of the questions and answers there. But there were a lot of questions and answers about the word search in particular in the past and future box, and really about, I was very surprised how many questions were specifically about the 5 clues portion of the word search. Anyway, after kind of thinking about those questions and answers, I transcribed a bunch of them and read over JCB's answers a handful of times. I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to start from scratch and reapproach the past and future box as though I had never seen the word search before and just like start over. Because the other thing is, when we started this podcast, I think by the time that we started it, the Cowlazar's video had already come out talking about the word search. So I think before we ever even really looked at anything, like one of the first things I watched was the Cowlazar's picking through the word search, finding the words, coming up with that quote unquote secret message.
Mm-hmm.
And I was convinced of it. And I was like, all right, this is consensus. This is correct. This is like my base assumption that I'm going to start building everything else off of.
Mm-hmm.
So after listening to some of the JCB responses, I thought, let's take a second look at that. So if I were to completely start over, what would I do? And I decided full disclosure, the first thing I did is I put the word search in Excel and started looking for words. And then I thought, this is going to take too long. And I don't think I'll ever be fully comfortable that I found all the words. And there's got to be an easier way to do this. So then I thought, I'm going to write a little program that uses a dictionary and finds all the words. So I went down that rabbit hole and quickly came to kind of stopping point or fork in the road of what dictionary am I going to use? So I did some research and I landed on this NWL 2023 dictionary, which is a dictionary of words that, among other things, is like the official Scrabble. Can you play this word in Scrabble? Yes or no dictionary, which felt a little, it felt right to me because I kind of feel like a word search and Scrabble are kind of dealing with the same types of words.
Interesting.
Also, and this is something I meant to make a slide on this, and this is probably a whole nother conversation that we don't need to have right now. My interpretation of JCB's note that says you may ignore all 3-letter words and some proper nouns is that I don't think there's going to be any proper nouns that you're supposed to use in there. And I didn't think that was like a hot take. And Bryn seems to think that's a super hot take. And I thought he had to phrase it the way he phrased it, even though there are no proper nouns in my mind. He had to phrase it that way for some logical reasons that we can talk about later. But in the meantime, this is the one I chose to go with. The NWL 2023 doesn't contain any proper nouns or proper adjectives, which is another reason why I felt like it was a good choice for searching. So we can, I don't know, again, we can kind of revisit that and talk through why I chose that one more in the future if it comes to that. But
yeah, I'll just comment real quick if that's all right, Cody.
Yeah, go for it.
So I didn't know you were using that. This is all new information to me, what you've done this week. My first reaction to you using the Scrabble dictionary is like, yuck. Because it seems like Scrabble dictionary is so liberal in terms of words that you can come up with, like especially those like 2-letter words like oh. But maybe that gets nullified by having words that are long 4 letters or more, right? And then I like the idea of not using proper nouns as you described, and I like that it's related to a game. We also know is associated with some sort of solves within the past and future box based on JCB's comments. So I turned from a poor reaction to you using the Scrabble dictionary to high support really quickly as you were talking. So that was my gut reaction.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the critique and I appreciate you siding with me in the end. 2 things you'll like. One of the first things I did with my program is any words that were 3 or less letters are just gone immediately. So that takes out a lot of those weird 1, 2, 3 letter words in Scrabble.
Yep.
You'll also see in just a couple minutes here that the kind of like weird, oh, I've never heard of that words. We're going to kind of get rid of a lot of those in a sec.
Okay.
So it's we're going to dilute it down to words that you would recognize anyway.
Okay.
But I'm just using kind of this Scrabble NWL 2023 dictionary as my base. So, but backing up, this was my step one. I decided I'm going with Scrabble dictionary or NWL 2023. Obviously, removing any words that are 3 letters or less. What does that leave me? Run the program. I get, surprisingly, actually, and probably, as Blake alluded to, it's because there's some weird Scrabble words. But I got 106 words.
Wow.
Here's my list of 106. Some of them are like 9 and teen and 19. That's 3 words right there, that kind of thing. Because it doesn't, it doesn't care if a word is contained within another word. And then some of them are also kind of, like you were saying, kind of the weird Scrabbly ones, like ESSE means something. And I looked them all up, and no, I didn't look them all up. That's not true. I looked a few of the weird ones up, and surprisingly, they were like, I don't know. The definition seemed reasonable enough.
Okay.
So anyway, again, it's not really going to matter in a few slides here. So I took those 106 words and I wrote another program because I didn't want to do it by hand. And I plugged it into the word search. And I got this, with the blues being used letters to create words. Wow. 2 big takeaways from it. My first big takeaway was, I don't think this is anything. I think this is too many letters to take away. And I'm so confident in at least of kind of the 3 different parts in my mind, like the top part, middle part, bottom part of the secret message. I'm so confident in the top part and bottom part of the secret message that I just have to believe that that is supposed to be there. And I really think it's using the method that we use to get that. I think that's correct.
Okay.
So I kind of thought, all right, I clearly took this too far. 106 weird Scrabble words is too much. My other big takeaway, though, Blake, is that 10 letter block at the bottom still isn't touched.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
So then I thought to myself, all right, I need to do something different. I don't like some of those weird Scrabble words, but how do I logically approach kind of the feeling of, oh, I don't like this word? And I also thought, okay, if it was JCB and he's creating this word search and there's all these words that could be in there, if he's kind of like creating his own gut feeling of like, this counts as a word because it's common enough, and this doesn't count as a word because it's so uncommon, like, where does he draw that line? So in an effort to do that, I used something that I found called Zipf's and I ran it. I wrote another little program that ranks all of those 106 words based on frequency, using some other dictionary of like something that had skimmed some publicly available dictionary that had skimmed like a bunch of Google documents over the last 10 years and like figured out the frequency of word usage in general. Yeah. So you can see on the screen here kind of the chat GPT easy explanation of if a word gets this ZIF frequency of 0, it's almost never used. 1 to 2, it's rarely used. 3 to 4, it's uncommon but normal in English. 5 to 6, it's a very common word, and 7 plus, and it's ultra common. And then you can see the different frequency for. I only screenshotted. Oh, where'd it go? I only screenshotted the top like 20 words there, but I ran it for all 106 words, and they're ranked in order of. This would be an order of how frequently this word would be used in the English language, or in other words, like how common is this word? So the most common word out of all of them is even, which is obviously part of the word 11. But for this exercise, I'm just going to treat it as even for now. So then what I thought was, here was my big plan. My big plan was, I feel so confident in the top part of the quote unquote hidden message and the bottom part of the quote unquote hidden message in the word search that I'm going to highlight. Oh, sorry. This is another screen showing all the different zip ranks for the 106 words. I feel so confident in this part highlighted in blue. The anagram is for the there are 5 clues in this word search, but don't tell anyone. And then at the bottom, remain steady to complete the mission.
Mm-hmm.
That my plan was, all right, now I'm going to. We found this by eliminating correct words in the word search that just left this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to layer in each word based on how common it is until I get to one that interferes with one of these messages that I feel super confident in. And I was going to kind of say, all right, that's where I'm drawing the line for a common enough word to be used to an uncommon word that should not be used.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of logically how I made that differentiation. So that was my plan. So step 1, even. I found that word, didn't interfere with anything, as expected. On to the next one was state. There's 2 states in there. They're obviously even's part of 11, state's part of a state, but I figured I'd get to that when I come to it because it's treated as a separate word with everything I've done so far. Then I got to 3, and I'm feeling good. I feel like, oh, this is such a good idea. Water, and then less.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, of all of the words, the 6th most common word out of all of them was less. And less completely interferes with pretty much all of that top message. And it's not only is it like with the method I used, like quantifiably not a weird word, but it also totally passes the gut check of like, less is not a weird word.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it like completely breaking this rule? I did not expect to run into this so early. Basically, this whole exercise ended up just being like a very, very quantifiable way of explaining why I feel like something's just weird about the methods that we've used and the outputs that we've gotten so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's so blatant. So that's where I've stopped at this point. And I'm trying to figure out like, what does this mean? How can I reconcile this in my mind? I got a couple different options and none of them are great, but I'm like, one of them is that some of these words just don't get used. Like less just came in by accident. JCB didn't notice it or just thought, I don't care. That one just doesn't count for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
which honestly, after hearing some of his comments recently, is not as ridiculous as I would have thought maybe a couple weeks ago. But at the same time, he says he spent many, many, many hours on this word search. I don't think you just accidentally miss that or just are okay with that for some reason, right?
Yeah. So I want to comment, like, he spent many hours on it. He didn't say he spent months on it. So I think it's possible that he just missed some of these words by omission, like a mistake. And that once he got the messages he wanted in this word search, he was happy with it. One other comment is some people might explain away some of these common words, because I noticed you had solo in your word search as well as in the top 22 is what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And less. Some people have explained those away because they only use 3 letters in the word itself. So even though there's a double S, there's only 3 letters, L-E and S, that compose the word. I've never been all that satisfied with that, other than a method to explain away some of these, let's say, inconvenient words. But that's one message I've heard before.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. I think I could get more on board with that than any of my other kind of possible conclusions I've got listed here.
Okay. Can you actually go back to your full list again, Cody? I apologize for derailing this.
No, you're not derailing it at all. This is the whole point do I we're doing this?
So the word hire is in here at position 22, and that's not one I've seen before. Where does that?
Part of Sapphire.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
That was
like I said, a lot of these,
Yep.
like I say, it's like 9 and teen and 19. They're not.
Yep.
There's multiple words in the word. It breaks it out. So,
but yeah, going back to your point about game breaking words, RAMs, RAMS has always been a problematic one too. That kind of ruins that message at the bottom of the puzzle, and that one is harder to explain away based on what I just said. So
I had done some looking into. Stop sharing here. I'd done some looking into, like, if there's any standardization for word search, what's acceptable, what's not, and if like the fact that it's a plural of a 3-letter word, RAM, if that somehow like disqualifies it. And everything I found said no. Okay. No, it does not. It still counts as a 4-letter word. So it also doesn't seem like there's any like official rule book of word search, but that was a while back when I looked into that one. So my other possible takeaways were, I'd done some thinking about, are we kind of conflating two different things? Like, is there a different way to come up with that message that's not just removing the words that we find? And there's like two different puzzles and we're kind of like getting some weird overlap between two of them. And I don't think that's right, because when I went back and kind of retraced my steps through the rest of the word search, that like top third and bottom third are just so clean. Everything about it with the words that we've found and kind of the community consensus so far is just so clean with nothing weird. So it feels like that's correct. And then there's just some kind of just like weird outliers. So then one of my other theories that I feel maybe a little bit better about, but this is another one that'd be tough and would be way more art than science, is like, if you did a lot of the steps that we've done, the community consensus stuff, to come up with the hidden message, if there's supposed to be some like very clear outliers, like the word turns is an outlier and less would be an outlier. And do we like, are there supposed to be outliers for some reason where we're supposed to use those for something else, or just like list those separately? Like, is he creating this very stringent rules, these very stringent rules, and then breaking them in very specific places that we're then supposed to use that somehow? I don't feel great about that theory, but it's something. That's really all my theories, other than just like some of these words don't count. I think the hardest thing for me, and I've said this before, is with what we know so far, if there's no reason they couldn't have just like swapped 2 letters in the word search that would have just fixed that. And it's just really hard to believe that that's something you'd overlook when creating the word search. So that's my presentation. I don't know how I feel. When we get to the end of the episode and talk through some of the questions and answers, you'll hear some kind of similar frustration about a couple of things, but there's also a couple of things that make me feel better too. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah. Good. It's a good refresh on the word search for sure. I think that's healthy.
I think like I can see that whole, I can see it going either way. On one hand, it's like we have to remember Jon Collins-Black did this himself. And this was his first attempt at creating a treasure hunt. And he created 5. And personally, I mean, he says this is a long project to do it in 5 years. Like, I felt like he did a lot to do this in 5 years. And so, I mean, if we just consider like the simple typos that were easily overlooked as well, I think it's pretty easy to think realistically there was probably just some things that were overlooked in the word search as well. Like, I know it's super easy for you to like run a program and, you know, search these things, but maybe that's just something that wasn't really in the cards for him, or like he was just doing it very manually. And I guess my gut is like there's probably just some things that are unfortunately incorrect.
And the whole technological thing is a really good point. And I know Brendan and I had talked about this real briefly offline, but it may be a misassumption that I'm making because he like made his money in Bitcoin, which is a very technological thing. And I think he like owned or sold websites or domains or something. I'd heard that at some point, something similar to that, which is also a very technological thing. I keep making this assumption that he would be like, even though he's working by himself, he'd be doing like a lot of these steps that I just did because they're very kind of rudimentary things technologically that he would have the means and desire to do that, to like check his work for these simple words without like manually skimming through and missing them. But then it goes back to like, I might be making this assumption that he's very tech savvy. And I guess maybe you don't have to be super tech savvy to like invest in Bitcoin and own some websites. And he just wanted this to be, again, a very analog puzzle and maybe created it in an analog way that led to some, what seemed to me like simple misses.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just being naive and thinking that way. There's probably a whole level of complexity I'm just not even considering.
Yeah, I agree with
Time
you
will tell.
more, Bryn, that it's when we were talking about the Brokey picture and how there's nothing associated with that in the Pokemon chapter. Somebody brought up the idea, I think, when we were talking with Emma and Jam, that there could be things that he just wanted to get done as part of the book writing process and then not think about them again and maybe not double check them. See exactly what I just said. The word search he got done, he got the messages he wanted to, maybe didn't review it again, didn't do one of these sanity checks, but that seems like Occam's razor to me. That seems more likely. All right, let's move on. This is going to be a long episode. We dive into the mailbag.
Mailbag. We've got mail.
Bryn, you have a mailbag.
I got a quick mailbag. This is from Brian, and it was a follow-up from the book signing event at TreasureCon. So during Jon's interview at TreasureCon, he mentions that in the purple image at the end of the chapter in the Pokemon box, he tells us that is a river in the purple image. And so Brian follows up at the book signing by asking, how wide would that river be? And Jon says, I can't answer that. But then he followed up with, it's not as wide as the Mississippi. And he chuckles. So I just thought that was kind of a fun little tidbit to pass along because, I mean, honestly, the Mississippi River is very much in play in the region. And it wasn't that long ago. Like, I was looking at some areas right around the Mississippi thinking maybe that is a bank on the Mississippi at some point. So I think that is super helpful information. In my Pokemon box world, like we can eliminate the Mississippi River. And then we can imply or infer what we'd like from there. Does that mean it is much more like a creek? I don't know. Take what you want from that information, but I thought it was fun that he followed up to that question at the book signing.
Sounds like we have a new segment on our hands that I didn't think of before, but super secret nuggets that you got at the book signing from weird questions that are asked. If you want to send more of those in, I'd be happy to report them out on the podcast if you think they're interesting or entertaining. But yeah, I did not attempt to glean any additional information during the book signing, but sounds like other people did, which is a good idea. All right, that's cool. I have one from FloydianSlip. It's going to be a FloydianSlip heavy episode. FloydianSlip says, so remember he commented 2 weeks ago on one of our YouTube videos about what we interpreted as he likes the idea of the markings on the outside of the magnifying glass in chapter 3. And we interpreted it as he had some additional information or connections to the book that he had made, and I begged for them in the mailbag. Anyway, he responded back kind of in the negative that we misinterpreted his comment. FloydianSlip here. I should have clarified my YouTube comment regarding the markings on the magnifying glass. I didn't mean to say that I had found a passage in the book that clarifies how to use or interpret the markings, just that there's a passage, second and third full paragraphs of page 43, which almost surely is nudging us towards finding the markings. So I agree with that 100%. I had showed some highlighted parts that like really make you think you should be looking at the markings on the magnifying glass, and even, in my opinion, pointing us to opening up a search bar and finding the original Sotheby's images and making those connections. So I think we're in agreement there. FloydianSlip also says, although I do think the Dancing Man cipher, given the Sherlock Holmes reference, is a very strong lead, and I'm wondering if JCB may have created his own version or taken inspiration from it. I agree with that. I'm still looking for a solution for some of these markings. Perhaps if I expand more on my general philosophy of looking for clues, my confidence in the markings being something will make more sense. I, like you guys, am very stingy when it comes to dishing out confidence in what is a clue. The book is too long, and any cryptic clues are too well hidden. Just cherry pick little references and themes into a full solution. So I tried to take a probabilistic approach to narrow down my focus, i.e., if multiple related findings or assumptions seem more likely than not to be true, it's a better use of time to follow those leads, rather than stringing together large numbers of less likely findings or assumptions. It can be a dangerous game, since misassigning confidence is the definition of confirmation bias. On the other hand, Sherlock Holmes' own style of deductive reasoning, quote unquote, was really more a matter of following the most likely interpretations of the information he had, occasionally hitting dead ends and requiring some luck. I should note that I would not be taking this approach if I were working on the Force Spend box, for instance, where there are discretely identifiable clues laid out for you. I'm only using it because, as you know, being intimately familiar with the main book, there's too much information and too few items that stand out as surefire clues. We need some kind of strategic tool to focus our attention to the parts that matter. And so he has some additional details. I might cover them in a later segment, but that kind of gives feedback that, yeah, we misinterpreted his quote, but I really liked his philosophy behind finding clues. I think you seem to agree with that too, both of you guys.
I think you're muted, Cody.
Nice.
But yeah, I agree, because I think I very easily can fall into the camp of like, look at all these little things, like we try to string them together. But I very much agree that like there are too many of those to be able to approach logically. So a very nice explanation.
Well, I was muted. I was saying a lot of nodding during that whole reading there.
Yes. So I'll do a follow-up in the mailbag next week to talk about his approach, but I have some comments, and this kind of moves directly into Discord detectives. So there was a Discord post, I would say probably a couple months back, I'm guessing, from FloydianSlip as well. And I realize you guys can't see this yet. 1 second, everybody. All right. I just copy and pasted this into a slide, but this is FloydianSlip list of possible puzzles that need to be solved. And I really gravitated towards this idea of trying to list out the things we think are clues and then say they're puzzles that we need to solve. I don't necessarily agree with all the things on this list, but I think it's a good start. So from FloydianSlip himself on the Discord, Here's a list of some possible puzzles that need to be solved. Every AI image. So I don't know if I agree that it's going to be every image is going to be a puzzle, but certainly from the JCB interview, we know that some images in the book are going to be critical to the puzzle solve. We'll talk about that during the JCB interview section.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cody.
Yes, we got confirmation that there are, at a minimum, there are clues in images. So
Yes.
if the intent behind saying every AI image means that we need to keep all of the AI images,
Mm-hmm.
we need to address all of them and look for clues in all of them, then yes, that's totally on the list, on my list as well.
FloydianSlip also lists page 90 as a puzzle that needs to be solved, which I agreed with.
Top of our tier list.
Agreed with. And it was actually confirmed in the JCB interview. He said there was a question asked whether page 90 missing was a error or not. And JCB said it was not an unintentional error. So that's like the first clue that we've ever had confirmed, I would say, in my opinion, by JCB. The headers being present on the title pages of chapter 9 and chapter 13. I think that's in reference to there's treasure inside little header section being present on those chapters, but not being present on any of the other chapters. The title image caption in chapter 10. I don't know what that's referring to specifically off the top of my head. I think maybe it's associated with a picture not having a caption or having a caption, potentially. I might be able to track it down real quick. I'll keep going though. The number 23. So some people have mentioned the number 23 being important. The discrepancies between the thrill of the chase and the chapter titles. No, TOC. What does that mean?
Table of contents.
Table of contents. Thank you. I'm trying to incorporate into Force Fed Live here. The discrepancies between the table of contents and the chapter titles. So that was pointed out a month or two ago with the rings of Tuyet, or was it a different one? The Golden Chalice. I can't remember. The pick and shovel logo as being a puzzle. I like that idea. Picture of Scotty. Why is that in the book? The Hopi calendar, which we have high on our tier list. Page backgrounds. I'm not as sure about because we know some of those are Shutterstock images. Then the copyright page logo.
But for the page backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why the pages have different backgrounds. Whether or not the backgrounds themselves have anything in them. But there's got to be something to why something has a certain background versus another.
Okay, fair enough.
I have the title image caption in chapter 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Jackie Onassis brooch.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I hadn't really flagged this, but it says this brooch belonged to Jackie Onassis. It's made with sapphires and diamonds inlaid around rock crystal. Esteemed for its craftsmanship and heritage, it was offered to me for $150,000.
Puzzle. All right. So anyway, I'm really enjoying Slip's thinking right now, and I think I'm inspired. Let's see here. Don't have the figure pulled up, but in a future episode, we'll be talking about some tier lists that I'm coming up with for each chapter as we go through. Taking our lists of clues and then collectively assorting them into tier lists. So I think that would be a good exercise to try to tease out what we think are these now over 50 clues that we have to find in There's Treasure Inside.
Big fan of tier lists. That FloydianSlip list of possible clues.
Mm-hmm.
I find that to be a mix of things that I totally agree with,
Mhm.
a couple of things that could be in line with some of the stuff I had just been talking about, where like could just be like things JCB overlooked or almost like more quality control issues with some of like the formatting stuff.
Mhm.
So I have trouble going too deep on some of those.
Mhm.
And then I also think there could be a couple of things that are like Bryn's unfortunate Froki image that just
Mhm.
like feels like it's got to be something, right? And then it's just
Mhm.
like, no, it's just something he used to color the book. The one that really jumps out to me is the pick and shovel logo. I've never been able to get behind that.
Hmm.
It just seems like so JCB to me to just kind of create an AI treasure hunt icon and not think we could just do it in passing and not think about, hey, there's no digging and I put a pick in there.
Mhm.
After the Froki fiasco, I could totally see it.
Fiasco.
I also do want to say it is a fiasco in the Pokemon box world. Um, Not that we need to dissect all of these, but I do want to say, like, for the there's treasure inside header on those two particular chapters, like I do think that it could be very easy, like when you're designing a book, like to apply the wrong master page layout to a spread. Um, I have done it. It is very easy to apply the wrong master. So I have not put much weight on that.
Okay. All right, let's get to our second Discord detectives. As hinted at, this is from Dr. R Squared from the Substack Treasure Inside, reflecting on there's treasure inside. He had a pretty good finding that was causing a buzz in the Discords, I would say. And I want to share that with you guys if you guys haven't seen it yet.
Awesome. I don't think I have.
No, either.
So he had a way to 3 different methods to make north, orient the map north. And so I'm going to try to talk through them. He had a nice little animation that goes with this. So definitely check out his Substack, Dr. R Squared. The first method was to use the path of Little Rock Pond, orient it so the shape of the Little Rock Pond path is north. You orient the map in this kind of diagonal way. You can see that, okay? So when Little Rock Pond is oriented to north, this is how you should have the map turned. So it's kind of a diamond shape for listeners with the compass at the north. The second way was to take the coin. You put the coin on the map, on the compass rose on the AT map, and then you can make north. You put the coin on, and then the coin points north. And I'm forgetting exactly how that works, but it's very convincing when you see the animation. I forget exactly how. You're going to have to go to Dr. R Squares. The third way is looking at the car north, which could stand for cardinal north. And then the footprints point towards north. And that orients the map again in the exact same way as having this north.
So it looks like all 3 of those different options are fairly similar.
Exactly.
Orientation.
Exactly. And I know that the compass or the coin one is also convincing, but I forgot how it works exactly. You have to trust me on that one. Anyway, there was a lot of buy-in from people on Discord that this is a good approach. And because we know there's 3 different ways to use the map, to get different varying levels of resolution on where the Appalachian footpath box is, this was a very exciting finding that there were 3 pretty convincing ways how to orient this map moving forward.
I think this is super cool because when you look at the map, like the most obvious thing that's jumping out to you is that compass, which of course is like, it makes sense if you're trying to create a cool looking old timey treasure map. But if this is what we're using to solve this box, I think you also need to consider this is probably a big clue. So if being able to orient the map correctly that feels like a wonderful first step. And like you said, to be able to get the 3 different approaches here is very in line with what we've been told for methodology.
Okay. I remember how to do the coin one now. So the coin one is based on how the coin is presented in the book. So if you look at the Appalachian Footpath box chapter, the arrow looking thing on the coin, it has a long line and a short line with a circle. If you lay that on the Appalachian Footpath map anywhere, assume that that coin is pointing north. And so you're going to place that coin on the map. It's pointing down and to the right. And now you turn it along with the map to face straight up as north. So it's the way that the coin is oriented and shown in the book is how you can get this exact layout for a north pointing.
It's good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very interesting because the coin's not like relative to anything else, so he could have turned it any way he wanted in the book.
Right. So it's something to think about with the other coins as well, is does the way you place them and oriented them in the book matter? Probably for some cases, and this is one explanation for using them in this way. So I thought it was a cool idea. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been very deep in the coins, but now when you look at the coin angle in that way, it's like, well, of course,
It looks like a little arrow.
that has to. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Great. We dive into coincidence of the day. I found it. I found the sound effect. Sorry.
Nice. All right.
Rin.
When I was leaving TreasureCon at the airport, there was someone at the gate with a hat that said amphibious reconnaissance. That's all. Pokemon box.
Were they from TreasureCon? Did they have a Froakie shirt?
They did not seem, I don't know. I didn't recognize them from TreasureCon.
People that missed out. I forgot to talk about this, but I made a custom shirt for the costume contest.
Yeah, are you wearing it? Nice.
No, I forgot to put it on, but I have it right here. Get it? You get it? I think this was Cody and Bryn's idea, but it's a little Rebus puzzle that says trade. It says treasure because that's how I see it, I guess. People make fun of me all the time.
I had originally told Blake that he should get like a big chain and hang a tray on it and then write "sure" on the tray. But I like this. The shirt was good.
So yeah, now everybody knows what my costume was.
Blake did not win the costume contest.
No, there was some very good costumes there.
Yeah.
All right, ready to dive into our recap of the epic JCB question and answer session.
Yes.
If it's okay with you guys, we can do this organized by box, just because I have some slides.
Perfect.
Okay, that will guide our discussion. So I'm doing it in order of the part 2 boxes first, and then we'll get back to lion's share at the end. So let me share this with you guys. See that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'll start with the Force Fen box. The altitude of the treasure is between 5,000 feet and 10,000 feet 200. For the Force Fen, is it between these altitudes? JCB confirmed that it's between those altitudes, which match the information that Forrest Fen had given about his box. Then there was a kind of an interesting quip at the end that Jon threw in there. It might be right in the middle, for all I know. So, do you guys put much stock into that information?
Zero stock.
Zero stock.
I mean, all the stock in the world in the 5,000 to 10,200, but I'm putting zero stock in the last part.
Interesting. Putting a little more stock into that.
Yeah. I would say I have a flake of stock in it. I think we know the Forest Fen box. He hit it where he thought was like the perfect spot for the Forest Fen box to be hidden. So we know that wherever he thought that was at the time of him searching for Forest Fen, he would have identified this is the correct elevation. So I mean, it's probably like not right on the borders of that, but I wouldn't be like, oh, it needs to be right in the middle. He just already was established that he was somewhere within the right area.
Mhm.
Random crazy person thought that I'm having in real time.
Mhm.
I should probably not even say it, but I'm gonna throw it out there. On the 0.0001% chance that he is not being coy and actually doesn't know, is there any, I'm trying to picture any situation where he could have placed the box somewhere where the elevation would change without him knowing it?
No, because he hit it in a spot where he thought the Forest Fen box was, and he would have followed those rules.
Yeah.
Good crazy
Trying to
person
think.
thought, Cody.
I know. But if it was, yeah, it's got.
There's a
Yeah.
there's a picture of you hiking in the wilderness. Can you share the location? JCB just straight up said no. And then reiterated the altitudes again. So I don't know. I'm not convinced that that picture in the Forest Fen box chapter of him and Kimberly. I don't think there's anything to that related to the treasure hunt, in my opinion, but there are people that seem very passionate about that being related to a potential location where he was hiding the Forest Fen box. Do you guys have opinions on that?
I don't put anything. I mean, I think they probably took some pictures when they were out hunting for the treasure in general. And he pulled one of those for the book. Does that mean it could be the place generally where he ended up hiding it? Yeah, but I don't think there's any proof of that, so I wouldn't put time into it.
Yeah, I agree with that take. And I think at best it might be like within the area of somewhere we ended up hiding it, but even then it seems like in an area of that kind of landscape, you'd have to be so close or be grid searching for so long that I'm not sure that that photo is going to help you more than the actual clues in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we knew like he had only ever searched in one state for Forest Fen, then maybe I would try to track down like what is that mountain range and we can at least identify the state. But I don't think we have that information.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking Appalachian Trail for that because that was asked about the Appalachian Trail, wasn't it? The
no,
photo of
the
That's in
photo of
Forest
him
Kimberly?
and Kimberly are in the Forest Fen chapter. Yeah.
I thought that was Appalachian Trail. Wow. I sound like a fool.
Real crazy
What a
person.
fool.
A real crazy person.
Is there
Embarrassing.
Is there anything
Why did I think this?
helpful in the rest of the chapter? I think I say in the chapter, all you need is the poem. I don't think there's anything else in the chapter. We kept that answer pretty simple, and that he's mentioned that before this interview as well, that all you need is the poem. That was reiterated by this question and answer section. And then where Warbalder's halt is yours as vague as the Forest Fen was. He responds that was Forest Fen very general and vague? There was an actual place. Mine's vague too, but I had a specific place in mind. It's kind of a non-answer, as you would expect. Hard to quantify that. So, any other notes you guys had on the Forest Fen box specifically for the Q&A session?
I would say out of everything, probably my biggest takeaway was one notch more confidence that all of the original Forest Fen rules apply. Because I wasn't, that's something that was never really 100% in my mind. It was more like 90% chance that that all applies because he could have, we talked about, you know, he hit it in a place where he was looking for the Forest Fen treasure, but that could have been, you know, on his way, part of one of his treks to look for the Forest Fen treasure, or did he maybe not know all the rules at the time when he first started looking for the Forest Fen treasure? So I'm starting to feel one notch more confident that the original Forest Fen rules also apply to JCB's Forest Fen.
Good. Any other takeaways, Bryn, from your and things I missed here?
I would just add, I kind of already alluded to this, but someone had asked about his timeline of getting the boxes and coins from Seth in relation to hiding the boxes. And ultimately, he says he only knew the exact location of one box, and we can assume that would be the Forest Fen box because he had already discovered the spot when he was searching for Forest Fen, and he knew he wanted to hide one there.
Yeah, that was reiterated when we interviewed JCB early on as well. I asked him if the Forest Fen box was the easiest one for him to create the puzzle for, and he said yes. And it's since expanded to this type of information where he had one ready to go, and I'm highly confident that that would be the Forest Fen box.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shall we move on to the Pokemon box?
Pokemon.
All right. Is Froakie pointing his hand that important? Jon Collins-Black says there is a Pokemon pointing. The image, or is, I think I might have mixed up words here. He kind of questions it. He's like, is there a Pokemon pointing? Then follows up with, the image of Froakie has no significance other than coloring your imagination for that wacky adventure. This was one that sent shockwaves through the crowd because
Bryn visibly grimaced when he answered it.
I mean, this is shocking because, first of all, if the Froakie was not pointing, I would have been shocked by this already. But the fact that we have the Mewtwo in the picture pointing, here Jon is acknowledging there's a Pokemon in that purple image pointing. And then you have a picture of the Froakie reinforcing that by also pointing, to only find out that there is nothing, no significance in that photo is like, it makes me very leery of what I can be trusting as a clue.
Right.
Like it felt so black and white that like, okay, well, the Mewtwo is pointing and the Froakie is pointing. Like it couldn't get more connected to that in my mind. Like that just felt like a very obvious thing for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be told that's nothing, it's like, well, what else am I now? I have such strong confidence in that is a big nothing burger as well.
Yeah, it's funny because, we've diagnosed so many potential clues. We always knew some of them were going to be products of our own imagination. But when you actually have them confirm that one of them is, it's like, oh, excuse me. It hurts so much more than you'd expect it to.
So yeah, big takeaway. Likely you don't need to use the Froakie for any sort of clue finding. It was other than coloring your imagination for that wacky adventure. We had a quick interview with Habeas Treasurous right at TreasureCon that you can see in our last episode. He brought up the point, well, why didn't JCB just buy a 5-cent Froakie Pokemon card and put it into the book, just like he did with the Charizard 2 cards at the beginning, if you really just want a representation to color the significance or color the imagination. You could actually have a non-copyright issue one by just putting an actual Pokemon card in there. Why did he go through the hoops of making these AI-generated renditions of Pokemon?
Yeah. You better believe in our next... we would like to get another interview with Jon in the near future. And I'm pretty excited to ask, like, can you give us the same confirmation for the artistic interpretation of the Greninja?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he says, no, I can't give you that confirmation, then we know there's a clue there because he was so willing to just say Froakie means nothing. So I think we'll just get a very clear answer on that one way or another. I'm kicking myself. Why didn't I just go get in line and ask him that right then and there? But
yes.
Yeah.
Well, there was so much information being absorbed that it was hard to get distracted by You guys kind of forced me to go up there and ask my question. You peer pressured me, but I would have just happily sat in the chair and listened to the whole thing. So yeah, there was some missed opportunities for sure. Somebody asked, what are your top 3 favorite Pokemon? He responded, yeah, he had to think about it for a while. But his first answer was Charizard. Then he answered Mewtwo, and then Froakie. So did you guys take anything away from that? I thought the Charizard answer was particularly interesting due to the Charizard generations that are in the back of the purple Pokemon box.
Yes, he definitely didn't pick Charizard because his main treasure items are Charizards.
I don't think so.
I will say I think Charizard is an underrated clue within the Pokemon box chapter. Based on this answer, I kind of think we know he's not a big Pokemon guy. He's admitted that. He was a Dungeons and Dragons guy. So I think he kind of listed these 3 just because those are 3 he became familiar with in the process of creating this story. And he probably just happened to, by doing the story, he's like, oh, I learned cool things about Charizard. I learned cool things about Mewtwo. Therefore, I like those. Froakie, he just threw in there at the end because he couldn't think of another one. I think he said because of his affinity for Froakie since he used it in the book. So I think all 3 of these were just primarily like, these are ones he's familiar with because of the chapter.
But Mewtwo is in the chapter, right? In that purple image. JCB has pretty much confirmed that with talking about a pointing Pokemon. But we don't have any additional information about Mewtwo. It's never mentioned in the chapter. So do you think Jon did learn a lot about Mewtwo? And is that important that we should take into account Mewtwo skills and abilities in the Pokemon game? If you think Jon did some research on this?
Yeah. No, I think if you consider that Mewtwo is a psychic type Pokemon, the color for psychic type is purple, the image is purple. Mewtwo hates humans. The type of attacks Mewtwo can impact your memory. And so the fact that Jon seems to like increasingly have moments of losing his memory or having confusion the closer he gets to where he's hiding the box. It feels like kind of the closer that he's getting to this Mewtwo psychic attack potentially. So I think there's a whole layer of information that needs to be unveiled with psychic type Pokemon, whether that's greater than Mewtwo itself, especially when we think about hauntingly gorgeous, magical. There's all of this kind of mysterious voodoo aspect to the chapter as well.
Yeah, I would argue JCB could have much more easily just said one of the Pokemon he actually lists by name. Like maybe he likes Ninjask or Pheromosa because those are actually listed in the chapter. So I think it was interesting actually that he said Mewtwo in this answer. If we're going by just things he's using in the chapter.
And it is a good point because I think I continue to be surprised by things that he says that he doesn't consider to be clues. Like he's implying that is Mewtwo. That feels like a given. That feels really big, but then like he also just confirms that's a river in the photo without any hesitation. That also feels like a really big thing to be like, yes, this is a river. You can literally eliminate a place without a river at this point. So I know it's not like anything groundbreaking, but I think it's really surprising the things that he is just willing to confirm at this point, like alongside the 5 clues when we get to past and future box. Like some things he is just now acknowledging, yes, that is what that is.
So my big takeaway from this question primarily, but also some other questions, and not just the way you wrote it with the 3 answers, but some of the other kind of throwaway sentences he also responded with. I remember my big takeaway being, and this is totally gut feeling, not really any way of backing this up. My gut feeling was that he never did like a very deep dive into Pokemon, or never had like a full grasp of like all of what the Pokemon are, what the Pokemon culture entails, all the different elements of Pokemon. It felt very like he did some surface level research to create this puzzle where Pokemon is a theme,
Mhm.
but like the real depths of Pokemon and everything that goes with it are not something you're going to need to know a lot of to solve the Pokemon box. That was kind of the gut takeaway that I got from the way that he responded to some of the things. He kind of responded to some of the things the way I'd expect, like my mom to answer questions after me having like collected Pokemon cards when I was 10. Just like, oh, I know the Charizard and the Mewtwo. Felt kind of like that.
I think we give Jon a little bit more credit than that.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying.
I'm trying to color your imagination here. But
Your gut
ultimately,
feeling.
my gut feeling was that it's going to be kind of more surface level and not like always referencing this attack that this specific Pokemon does, and the way that the description of that attack in Generation 3 on this card.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to be like super in depth like that.
So,
Second thing I want to say is when you guys are saying that you think like the Mewtwo as an answer for here is interesting in some way, are you thinking that that then gives more credence to the idea that Mewtwo is important, or less credence to the idea that Mewtwo is important? Because I'd almost argue that if he's willing to say Mewtwo as an answer to a question like that, that if the whole chapter revolved around specifics of Mewtwo and all the clues had to do with Mewtwo, he would not say Mewtwo. So I almost think that by saying Mewtwo, I can almost think of logically how that would mean that Mewtwo doesn't play a super important role, or Charizard or Froakie.
I don't know. This is my short answer.
I'm on the other side of the fence from you on that one.
More important, more facts.
I
So,
think
go
yeah.
ahead. So can we take your...
Oh, I just think. Go ahead.
I'm going to change the topic slightly, but go ahead, Bryn.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
The most
honestly.
the most awkward 10 seconds of TTI unofficial podcast in history.
Did we do our first edit? Do we
Nope.
cut something out?
Never. Okay. Going back to your thought process though, Cody, if you're thinking that this is more basic and it's like your mom saying, "Oh, I remember Charizard." What did Jon do to add Pokemon into the chapter then? Did he literally say, "There's a no dog sign here. Google, give me a dog-like Pokemon"? And
I could see it being something like that.
And that's how he got a Mabostiff.
I could see him like becoming aware of these like super high value Pokemon cards, saying, "Hey, I specifically am trying to appeal to a lot of different potential treasure hunters and different styles and different types of people, different age groups. This feels like a perfect opportunity to do that." Probably aware of Pokemon in general. I don't know if his like kid played Pokemon or something, has kind of that cursory understanding of kind of what it is. It's a card game and a video game. And then, yeah, exactly. Do something where like maybe most of the puzzles or clues in the chapter are just referencing like Pokemon names, something like that. I could see it being something like that. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that's the direction I was going. I mean, if we're trying for a reverse engineering approach on this, there's a longer list of Pokemon that he talks about: the Pheromosa, the Ninjask, the Obstagoon. Do we really just consider those surface level things that Jon needed a proxy for a raccoon, so he chose the Obstagoon? He needed a proxy for a bee, so he chose a Ninjask, or a cicada, he chose a Ninjask because they're loud. That the surface level that you want to look at for using all of those Pokemon names in the chapter, because that would simplify things, I think, in my mind.
I would say I'm not confident in that, but I would say I would not be surprised if that ends up being a lot of the clues/solutions.
Okay. Right. Red herrings are there any red herrings? There are no red herrings in the Pokemon chapter. There is one thing in the book, he said, but it's not that important. Then he also tacked on that you need the whole chapter for the Pokemon box. Yes. Which is, I think, what my assumption was, but it was actually very good to hear based on you only need the poem for Forest Fen box. And other comments he's made. You only need the map for the Appalachian Footpath box. You do need the whole chapter for the Pokemon box, but there's no red herrings. Thoughts?
I was I guess shocked that people thought maybe you only needed to use part of the Pokemon box chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I can get why, because the other ones have been narrowed down a little bit, but yeah, I guess I was definitely under the assumption it was the whole chapter as well. The no red herrings, I'm fine with that. I think I'm also maybe not surprised. I think people are maybe thinking that like Buffalo, for Buffalo National River potentially was supposed to be some sort of red herring.
My
I think
feeling,
the only thing that's really made me think, the only thing that's made me really think differently on is like, if it's just like, how does he define red herring, right? Like, I think it makes a little bit stronger of a case for Buffalo National River because of Hemden Hollow. But I also very much can see a world where it's not that, and it's still not a red herring either.
yes. I think people were excited about the no red herrings because of Buffalo National River, but they have it in their minds that Buffalo has to mean Buffalo National River. I don't think that that is the only explanation for no Buffalont.
I think what people are stuck on is it feels very coincidental that you would have Hemden Hollow in Buffalo National River.
Okay.
And be able to find a meaning to that outside of that.
Okay. Fair.
I think of everything we've talked about in this podcast, the red herring topic, I might have my strongest opinions on out of everything we've ever talked about. I have very strong opinions on some specific elements of the idea of red herrings. I feel really strongly about them. I can talk about it for 15 minutes. I don't want to right now. I will say you have to be, I think you need to be really careful with how you define a red herring. Having an idea of something that's a clue, you cannot then tell yourself, oh, this has to be a clue, because if it's not, that would be a red herring. I don't want to get into it right now.
It's the intentionality, and people quote.
It's the intentionality.
People have been starting to quote you, Cody, when they're talking about red herrings, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't get into it. Because
I'll get off the rails, but it's like, I'm really, really worried about people taking that red herring quote and using it to just like
say
as like the ultimate confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, that is a huge,
I would say,
huge consideration.
I would say JCB has confirmed that other than this one weird thing he's talking about, he did not intentionally mislead us or misdirect us. That does not mean we can't find our own things that are incorrect.
Right. That's not a red herring in our opinion.
That's not a red herring.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I will. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm
gonna bite my tongue.
The Pokemon image is a single picture, or is it a collage and there are images overlaid, like multiple photographs? And John says it was taken by his camera. Then he corrects himself and said he took the picture with his phone. And it is just a single picture. That's the base of this image. Obviously, it's been modified. There's a Mewtwo that's been added But he didn't go really beyond that other than saying it's not multiple photographs overlaid with each other. So it is, that base image is very valuable, in my opinion.
I wish I had the exact quote, but when I can't remember, someone said, so you didn't add anything else to the photo or something like that, and he just laughed. He's like, oh, I wouldn't say that.
Right.
Like, it was very clear that things were added to the photo, whether or not he was laughing about that as in like, oh, that's filters, or if that is literally like more hidden Pokemon in the image.
I was thinking
But it
Mewtwo.
felt to me like there was additional things. To me, it sounded like in addition to Mewtwo. But that's literally just my assumption.
I took it as like, my interpretation was the reason that he laughed so audibly like that was because
Okay.
the Mewtwo was so obvious. And so he's like, well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that because we all have been talking about this Mewtwo for the last 5 minutes kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have
Totally, yeah.
laughed at it if there was other secret things that he was trying to conceal.
That's a good point.
The spot where the Pokemon is, i.e. the Mewtwo, is that close to the treasure? JCB says, it feels like you would probably not be that close. Probably need to go a little further. The discussion of 10 yards. And John says, if you went 10 yards the direction the Pokemon is pointing, you would be in the river. So we know that, well, we assume that the Pokemon is pointing maybe towards the direction of the treasure, and you need to go a bit farther. And a bit is up to interpretation. Could be a mile down the trail, it could be 100 feet. But we know that picture was taken near the end of the day. Can't be, I don't know, but there's no metric associated with that. It's all gut feeling.
Yeah, near the end of the day.
More than 10
Point
yards.
that out that he referenced that in the text of when he took that picture.
Yeah.
So you think
again,
maybe
I think
like you get to like a fork in a trail and that's pointing you which way to go?
Could be. It's a good idea.
I don't think necessarily.
I don't think so either. I think by the time you get there, you're probably off trail. But yeah, I don't know if there's much. I think the fact that you are going to be near a river towards the end of the journey, i.e., when you're going to be finding the treasure, I think that's the biggest takeaway from that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is helpful if we're to take it literally like that. If you consider like you're not just starting at a river, but when you get to the point after hiking, that would be by a river. That's helpful. And I like I said, I do think him just straight up telling us like the river is fundamentally helpful as well.
Right. Past the Ozarks, this was the question that Emma asked. Did you ever go farther north than I-40? The kid on that trip, I think we went north of I-40, but the Pokemon box was inspired by the childhood trip. So this, in my opinion, didn't give her any answers other than it's possible that it's north of I-40.
I would just say, in conjunction with some of the other answers, not even from in Treasure Con, but some of the times I've heard him kind of address that loop, it seems like he really, really leans into the idea of it was inspired by that loop and very loosely follows that loop. And I'd say since first reading that chapter, kind of the geographically where I'd be looking has expanded since the first time I ever read it, just based off of kind of how he's describing it. I feel like he's been saying things that make me feel like I'd be willing to venture further off of that loop than I would have before he ever answered some of these questions.
Okay.
I think in general, him calling this a circular route. I mean, I think that's literally just tying into a greater theme of like the circular round rolling wheel theme. But I don't think there's like literally any sort of circular. He's just he's painting the colorful world for us, right?
They don't
So
do, yeah.
I think in general, I'm trying not to get tied down to what was the route because he's tried to tell us time and time again to not be focused on that.
Okay. I like that perspective. All right. Anything I missed on Pokemon that you guys had in your notes?
No.
Hearing none.
Nope.
Cody.
Nope.
Cody. Okay. Should we move on to past and future box?
Oh boy.
Oof.
The first question I have written down here, and these might be out of order, but on special bends or turns or no special bends or turns? Asking about that section in the word search, the middle section of the secret message that Cody described nicely as being difficult to pin down. Jon says it's not on. And then he said, the question asker says, so it's no. And then Jon says, if I answer in the affirmative, I would act like I know what you're talking about. If those are the only choices, on is incorrect. Help me translate that meaning, Cody. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to read the full. I've also transcribed a bunch of this, so I'm going to read his
Good.
full response here because I even included all of like his little mannerisms.
Yes, so maybe
misspeakings.
Generally,
So
we'll have you lead this discussion then.
He said, "It's not on. It's not on. If I answer in the affirmative, it suggests that I know what you're talking about. So I'm just going to say that in lieu of not acting like I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just going to say that it's not on. I don't know what that is. Fair enough? If those are the choices, then it's not on. On is incorrect."
You're a better actor than I am.
Yeah, when he first said that, I thought, oh well, he's like also then telling us it's not no. But yeah, after
That
all
was
that,
my
like,
that
I think
was my gut too at the beginning, and I'm starting to think more that it is. I think it's not on.
We know it's not
I feel
on.
good that it is no.
Yeah,
I feel good that it's no.
I think when he first said it, I was 75% that it was neither, and we had something totally wrong. 25% that it was no, and now I'm kind of flipped to like 75% that it's no, and 25% chance that something's still just like totally off.
Okay. No special bends. Special bends or turns.
I mean, if something was like very wrong with both of them, I think he would have not just said no about on.
he wouldn't have answered the question if it was just way off.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
My gut tells me that this is how he would have responded if we have the message, if both messages are wrong, but the word no is in one of the correct messages.
Mm-hmm.
That he wants to say, like he's trying to tell us that it's not on, that something's wrong, but he can't also say it's not no because the word no technically shows up somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my one way I could see it, just like something being totally wrong and him answering like this.
Yeah. I've been looking at
you said it much better than I could.
I've been looking at special, and you could imagine that it's no places I instead of special. But I can't figure out a word that goes after no special places. No places I went, no places I discovered, no place, like there's not a word that fits because it's bends after that. So how are we doing that messaging wrong? I think there's a lot of thought behind that now. You don't have a message you like better than no special bends or turns right now, Cody?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
And I'm still frustrated because I'm still trying to kind of come up with a more satisfying way of deciding what letters I'm even playing with. Like I feel like there's still some opportunity for either eliminate some letters or include some other letters. So I don't know. I think what's most frustrating is just how perfectly clean the top third and bottom third are.
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, why is the middle just so, there's so many little weird things about it. Just don't line up right.
Oh yeah, you're gonna lead this now. Go ahead. What's the next one you want to talk about?
Oh, I'll do them in the same order.
Okay.
How close people to Past and Future? I don't know. I only wrote down the ones that I found particularly interesting. So I don't think I had the how
Yeah.
close are people to Past and Future. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
doesn't
write
seem
them
like
down.
he's very confident, which I think detracts from Lake Tahoe a little bit, right? If we knew that if he knew there's a lot of people out searching at Lake Tahoe, I think he would have had more of an answer to that. That being said, Lake Tahoe is a gigantic place, so you might just not know how close people are if Lake Tahoe is correct, the correct search area. So, not confident
I'm not sure
about
if
taking anything away from that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is also goes in the same spot. But he was asked how many of the 5 clues in the. Oh no, never mind. Never mind. Moving on.
Can
Okay.
I want to follow up on that though, because kind of the opposite of that is if he says that he thinks Appalachian Footpath and Pokemon Box will be the first to be found, that leads me to believe that those two places would be the general community consensus for those two places would probably be the correct location if he has the highest confidence in those two.
Interesting.
Like if he sees people massing at Little Rock Pond or groups of people going to Buffalo National River, that makes sense for me to think, well, then he has the highest confidence in those being found. And he kept reiterating like the persistence, right? Like just because someone else hasn't found it somewhere doesn't mean it's not there. So I thought it was kind of interesting to like have that interpretation of like a group consensus meaning one thing for Tahoe. And then what is the opposite of that for a group consensus for these other two boxes?
Very good. A reasonable way to think about it. Not thought about in that specific method before. Cody, do you want to talk about the video games?
Yes, he was asked, are video games involved specifically to the solution for Past and Future Box? He responded, I don't think I have the whole thing here, but he said, games are involved specifically to the solution. Games. Games are. Probably the closest thing I've given to a clue tonight.
It doesn't necessarily confirm it's video games. In the heat
I would go as far as to say that he's specifically saying it's not video games.
That's my feeling too. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's my feeling too. And that's the path I've been going down now, is looking for game connections. And it's games, multiple games. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm trying to find games, board games, parlor games, playground games at this point that I can make associations with. Not looking at video games right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really feel like he went out of his way to correct it from video games and just say games. I also was slightly concerned at one point, thinking back on it. Is he counting the word search and the cryptogram? Are those the games that he's talking about? But I don't think he'd follow up by saying that's probably the closest thing I've given to a clue tonight, if that's what he was referencing. Good point. I think there are other games involved, and I do want to get everyone's take on him saying he thinks that's the closest thing he's given to a clue tonight, because that seems very loaded. And that's, if you took that out and then read the whole transcript of everything and told me when is he going to say that's the closest thing I've given to a clue tonight, I never would have guessed it was there. I would have guessed a lot of other things he said.
So first, I agree that he almost seemed like he was really pushing games versus video games, but I could also see a world where he was just wanting to make sure games was general enough to include games outside of video games. So I could still very much see a world where the video games and board games or newspaper games are all included. But I agree that I would place more emphasis on non-video games at this point for the sake of trying to progress. Um, and again, I agree with you, Cody, that I was not that surprised, or I was very surprised that he said that was the closest thing he's given to a clue, because we already know that there was games. Like in the part 2 introduction, he says, or well, I can't remember I think it's in the part 2 introduction. He says like multiple games essentially were included.
Yeah,
So
I think he just talks about games throughout all of it. It's like games is like one of the main themes. So the fact that then he felt like just saying that a game is important to the solve is the biggest clue, the closest thing he's given to a clue, that just something seemed off there.
Yep, that's why all my
I think
resources
what's maybe
are going
tricky
towards
is
trying to get to games.
You're gonna brute
it's also
force
hard
as many
because
different
someone-
games as you can think of and see if anything fits.
Yeah. I think, Bryn, you're a little laggy. Sorry. You're like slightly behind. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say it's what was I gonna say?
Okay.
I can't remember.
Continue. Cody, you're the driver. You're driving this bus.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Go ahead, Bryn.
Nope, I'm the driver.
I remember now. Because he also then when like we'll get to it, but when asked about like the what's hidden as like the different ciphers in the word search, and he basically implies like I just hid words in the word search. So like, if we take the word search as fundamentally just a word search and the cryptogram is just a cryptogram, if there are other games, what does that leave us with to build these games?
The quote that you're referencing was probably my favorite quote of the con. So I'll circle back to that one later.
I don't have an answer for that. I lost track. I think I'm getting tired. Sorry, everyone.
I'm tired too.
Can you restate the
Do
question?
you guys want me to continue? Oh, it was kind of just rhetorical. Like, if the word search is just the word search, that's kind of what he implies. Like it's literally just that. And then the cryptogram, he's like, I think I created just a word search, and I think I just created the cryptogram to solve. But if there's multiple games to play, where does that leave us to play other games in the chapter?
That's a
like
good
it has
point.
to be in the text, right?
That's a good point. Because he kind of, yeah, in that quote, my favorite quote that we'll talk about in a minute, he did almost like dilute it down to like the word search is just a word search, the cryptogram is just a cryptogram. And to say you need presumably another game, yeah, that just kind of leaves you with the rest of the text. I think if there are other significant photos in there, there were some photos, but were they anything you could play a game with?
Coin.
Like there has to be another medium to support a game.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I like that point, Brendan.
I'll push back against that because there's supposedly five clues in the word search, and they're an all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
I think the 5 clues.
So I would
have
still
to be
say that's one
associated.
game.
So let's talk about the 5 clues then. What would
all
those clues be if not some sort of hint towards a game that makes you know that you have all 5?
That could be it. It could be the word search. You find words and then use those words to play a game that's not technically part of the word search, but becomes like the input information for a game. I could see that. Let me do this real quick. There was like a large number of questions asked, not only about the past and future box, but specifically about the 5 clues. There are 5 clues in this word search. I feel like the ratio of that question to any other question was so much higher than I would have expected. Do you guys have any thoughts on, I don't even know, thoughts on why people are so fixated on that? Were you guys surprised that that was like by far the leading question? Just questions about 5 clues in a word search? Because I think that there's a lot of other important parts of that quote unquote secret message that we could have asked questions about. It seems like everyone was just asking questions about the 5 clues part. And it seems like you've got in your notes here, I see, Blake, that JCB almost seemed like frustrated that we just kept asking about that.
Yeah, there's something off about the 5 clues for sure that he doesn't like. And he admits that we're not going to like the answer based on what he knows about community consensus, I think. So he's trying to lead us away from that slowly. But yeah, the obsession with the 5 clues, I think, is because he's confirmed that in the Calazar's interview he did during the anniversary, in that K-Pro asked him how many of the 5 clues have been solved. He acknowledges that that is the message, right? So I think people attach to that for the questions that happened this time, because he's already confirmed there's 5 clues, just like we're going to ask more questions about Greninja because he's confirmed now that Froakie is not a clue. So it just kind of adds more confusion once he confirms something, it seems.
Yeah. So let me read off my 5 clues questions and answers here, because they're all kind of related. So one of his answers regarding the 5 clues was, and I think this is probably the most loaded of the answers, was, I think this whole 5 clues about the word search is throwing people for a loop, and I can understand why. But yeah. I tried to transcribe it actually word for word here, even as little, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely alluding to the fact that something's up. Either it's just not as important as we think it is, or something else is going on. I don't know. Something's off. Someone else asked, can you find the box without knowing all 5 clues? And he said, you can find the box without knowing. Maybe I miswrote that. Those all 5 clues that you keep talking about is, yeah, there is a world where there is more than 5 clues, but like, what does that mean then? There's a lot of stuff in that word search, though.
I think I would make the argument that we're just like fundamentally interpreting 5 incorrectly, and it's not like a quantifiable. I don't know. Like he says, you either have them all or you have none, and I feel like we just need to be thinking about 5 in a different way. Like maybe it's not, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we can list out. Like maybe it is one holistic thing that we are understanding through the lens of 5. I don't think that makes any sense. But I just think like 5 is something different than what we are thinking about it as.
Yeah, you might like Matthew Hobby's video, Bryn, where he, with 1 clue short of a treasure, they talk about is 5 clues that you're supposed to find the word clues 5 times in the chapter or 5 times in the word search. You're literally supposed to find the word clues. So different ways to think about it that might like, address why Jon is frustrated by this question.
Yeah, especially when he said the all or nothing. Like I don't think he could say all or nothing if there was 5 individual things that you're doing. Like I think it is one thing.
Yeah, I think Bryn and I were kind of talking about this earlier. I think the way he's describing it, there's like a specific methodology where it's like, once you figure out what the methodology is, you're just going to get all 5 immediately, or whatever it is that he means by all 5 immediately. And it's not like, oh, hey, I've discovered 1 of the 5. Now I've discovered 2 of the 5. It's like, I've discovered the methodology. These are the 5 all at once. Or whatever he means by the 5. Can the past and future box be found using just the story in the chapter and the cryptogram without solving the 5 clues in the word search? He responded, it would be a lot harder. That word search is pretty important. Another one, he says, how many of the 5 clues in the word search have been solved? As you said, not all 5 have been solved. How do you know this? He responded, I don't know because I don't know how many people are out there that have solved it or haven't solved it. I think that the thing that people are asking when they ask this question, I think you either have all 5 of them solved or none of them solved.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of the same thing. If you were to estimate how many hours did it take you to make the word search in the past and future chapter, many, many, many hours. That was a challenging thing to do. So my big takeaway was many, many, many hours. So it probably shouldn't have simple mistakes in it. But Blake's takeaway seems to be that many, many, many hours is a lot less than many, many, many months.
Yes.
And I need to think about it relativistically.
Yes.
Took me many, 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 many minutes. All right, I want to save that one for last. This one was a great one. Do all of the letters in the word search have to be used in a meaningful way?
Mm.
No, was the short answer. That was short, sweet, excellent
That's
question,
huge.
excellent answer. Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. That block of 10 at the bottom keeps coming back. Wonder if maybe it's a nothing.
Could be. Could be.
One that I found probably one of my like top 3 most interesting questions and answers was the word line is found and also needed to complete the hidden phrase line them up. And it sort of breaks a rule that you established during the decoding of the secret message. Was this intentional or not? And he simply responded by saying, I think that you're on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
That seems very interesting.
Do you agree that that indicates that using line and line them up is probably wrong? That's my reaction to that.
I don't know what my reaction is. That's the thing. It's like, because the question, if you really boil it down, the question's like, my question is, you've established these rules, and then we have to break them to get the answer. And he's saying, you're on the right path. So he's saying you're on the right path in breaking them. Are you on the right path in recognizing that you have broken them? I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it like seems very telling, but then you could interpret it in pretty much any way you want.
Okay.
So I don't know. I got to think about that one a little bit more.
I think the logical next step is to take it as, well, we don't use line, like try to make the message without it then.
Yeah.
And like if that is a dead end, then explore other opportunities.
No, it doesn't make it a dead end. We've talked about this in the in the Past and Future Box YouTube episode, that you could just say up them. There are no bends or turns. Up them, there are no bends. There are 5 clues in this word search.
Yeah.
So there is logic to omitting the line, but Cody makes a good point that it's unclear which way to go.
And then probably my favorite question and answer is question, are there more substitution ciphers to solve than just the cryptogram? And the question was a little bit longer than that, but that was the gist of it. And his answer was, what's a substitution cipher? Yeah. I don't think I did that. I think that I had a word search, so you need to search for words, and I had a cryptogram that you need to decode, and that was it. That was my favorite. I really like it's. I think it's going to be really good for keeping me from going off the rails. The fact that you said that. I think I had a word search, so you need to search for words, and then the cryptogram. Yeah, I feel like we've got enough. I feel good about the cryptogram, but the word search, it's like I like the idea of manipulating the word search still in some way to get more information out of it, but in ways where we're still just searching for words.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing super cryptic. It's just kind of, I think we need to just try a lot of different means and methods of like simple manipulations to get normal words out of it.
Okay.
That's my big takeaway.
And anagramming.
And not, obviously some, because that's how we got this very clearly correct in some way hidden message, but hopefully not too much anagramming and hopefully zero boggling.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Those are all the ones that I found particularly interesting and had written down.
Yes, I think that covers Bryn, did you have other things for the past and future box that were missed here?
I just want to highlight something that is kind of contrary to everything we just said. When he says there's a world where there's more than 5 clues, there's a lot of stuff in the word search. So he's simplifying it for us, but then what is he implying when he says there's a lot of stuff in the word search?
There's a lot of words. I think in my mind, it's just a lot of words. And then as a bonus, or somehow we're thinking about it completely incorrectly, the 5 clues. So there's more to the word search that's going to be used besides the quote unquote 5 clues. That seems like it's just a maybe subcomponent, all or nothing, as he said. Maybe it's important. It's probably important.
Okay.
But I think there's a lot more. And in previous interviews, he's talked about there's more than just the word search in that chapter. I think when he was talking to MN Jam, I believe. So yeah, I would not limit the word search to the 5 clues when you find them. I think some of those base words are super important. I mean, state divide, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, that seems pretty intentional.
Yeah,
and that doesn't seem like
to argue.
People have put that together with the 5 clues. I don't think, but
yeah. I think it's going to be kind of like how he's saying the Appalachian Trail map has 3 different independent ways of solving it. I kind of picture there being multiple independent ways of not solving it, but independent like clues hidden in different ways in the word search, and that the 5 clues in the word search is one of the one bucket of multiple buckets of clues in my mind. So that I think that's what he's alluding to in that answer.
all right, I'm going to make a suggestion that we finish the Appalachian footpath box because that one's pretty light. And then we save our lion's share discussion for the beginning of next episode. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, fine by me.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you want to try and
No,
let's do that.
We need to give it the time it needs.
All right.
So I only have 2 bullets for the Appalachian footpath box. One is somebody asked him how to pronounce Appalachian, and he says Appalachian. Appalachian is how he pronounces it. So that seemed like it had meaning for some people. I don't know what that might mean, or he's just making fun of us that we don't say it right. And then the resolution of the images does not supposedly provide an advantage for people that are using the print book versus the ebook. Really, those are my only 2 takeaways for Appalachian footpath box specific questions.
I thought the resolution one was an excellent question, excellent answer.
Yeah, especially his answer. He said he confirmed all the versions in the print copy with a magnifying glass.
He said,
so I think that, okay.
He said, no, I don't think so. I really spent a lot of time having the printer send me actual physical copies of what that was going to look like. And I went over it with a magnifying glass for each printer that I had do it.
Yeah, so I think that confirms there are very fine details, small details that we do need to keep an eye out for. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but a nice confirmation.
Great. Any other goodies for Appalachian footpath, or should we log off and cover the lion's share next week?
It made me think of the resolution question, made me think of a question that I really want to ask JCB next time, which is some iteration of figuring out if you're at any disadvantage by having an ebook, or if there's anything that you can't do with the ebook that you could do with the physical copy. Because I feel like that is one of our arguments for like a lot of the mailbag ones is like, well, you couldn't do this if you had an ebook. I feel like we could like not confirm, but
it would
help confirm or deny a ton of different theories.
Yeah.
By knowing the answer to that question.
Yeah. That's a great question.
And then I want to know what each of your favorite your favorite question and answer was, or your most impactful ones, and then I will let you go to bed, Blake. Mine was the.
I mean,
I think that I had a word search, so you need to find words, and I had a cryptogram that you need to decode, and that was it. Normally, we're really good at not cutting each other off, Bryn, but you're like on a 1 second lag, and I keep starting sentences at the same time as you.
I will say, I think the most impactful to the community as a whole is what we learned about the word search. For me, personally, selfishly, the Froki. The Froki being a non anything shook me.
Yeah, I think for me it was the confirmation that page 90 was not an unintentional error.
Really?
Really? I'm so surprised.
Very surprised. That was like one of the few things I was like 100% confident in already. So I was like, I just felt like, yeah, I know.
Okay. Fair.
You just like really locking it in for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You don't have to think about that one anymore other than solving what it means. But because Mike asked a question, right? He said, what's the easiest clue in the book? And he wouldn't answer that. But he did confirm that page 90 was not an unintentional error. I thought that was huge.
And then how is that not the closest thing he's given to a clue tonight? I don't know.
Well, the order of those things happening is a little bit different, but...
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Okay. I think
bedtime.
We're dying here, so we'll continue the conversation later so that as this does not become a 3-hour episode. So thanks, everybody. We'll follow up with you next week at the beginning of the episode with a follow-up of the line share. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Searching for clues, let's find you.